You're watching Backstage with Ben Hall. I'm referee Ben Hall. All right. Well, I'm sitting here with a local media personality and a Hall of Fame member.
Yes.
Aaron Phillips.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Doing very well. Of course, it's summertime here in Las Vegas, so we're all trying to stay cool and comfortable, and we're doing good. Doing good.
Oh, yeah. It's hot. It's hot out there.
It is that time of year, triple digits now for the next week or so, and I'm going out of town soon.
Oh, yeah.
And where I'm going is even going to be hotter. So.
Oh, it must be Arizona.
Yes. As long as the air is cool and the water stays wet, I'll be fine.
Oh,
so
great.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm lucky. I'm actually going north, so it should get cooler.
There you go. Mount Charleston or out of state?
Out of state.
Oh, there you go. Very good.
All right. So, a lot of people who watch this probably actually know you from, doing commentary at local wrestling promotions such as Big Valley Wrestling.
Right.
But you also do various podcasting and other, I was watching something today and you're actually trying to get away from podcasting because it's a show.
Correct.
I watch stuff.
That's good.
You got Thoughts Count Anywhere. You got the Power Play Sports. You got twin brothers from
Different mothers.
Different mothers.
Right. It's okay. You know how many times I screwed that up early on too?
Time to Vegas. I mean, you got a list of things that you do a lot.
15 years ago, I had an opportunity to get behind a microphone because of a Craigslist ad.
Oh, yeah.
And I started doing Junior Golden Gloves boxing. I was the color commentator.
Mm-hmm.
I knew like this much about boxing. I had taken a 30-day class though, and I knew an uppercut from a jab, just enough to make me dangerous.
Yeah.
I did about a year or so on radio back in New Jersey, where I'm originally from. And it's like probably for you, the first time you step in that ring wearing the striped shirt, you're like, man, this is so cool. You get bitten by it. And I love being behind the microphone. It'll be 15 years come October. And as you mentioned, kind enough to mention, in 2018, I was inducted into the Las Vegas Entertainers Hall of Fame because of all my years on radio. So wherever there's a need for my voice, which is where the voice nickname comes from, I love providing it. And just give me a microphone or give me a stage, man. I'm right there.
Yeah, it was 1995, New Jersey, and a weekly FM sports radio show.
Correct. It was a station called WCNJ. I got my start doing 1 hour drive time every day. Mm-hmm. And then Monday nights, I did a local sports recap show, both the pro and amateur sports high school. But it was your typical FM station, you're listening to Solid Gold, WCNJ FM, where all the good songs come out, that cheesy FM voice when you're playing music. But it was fun. And you know what? I got bitten by it, and it's like that was such a cool experience. Yeah, and
and then '97 you started doing the boxing commentary.
Yep.
And you actually weren't classically trained to do this or mentored. You just kind of got in there and learned on the job.
Yeah, I didn't go to like the Syracuse universities or some of the big colleges where a lot of these people come from. I belonged to a community service group called Kiwanis International. Mm-hmm. Had many offices. I was a lieutenant governor, which is sort of like a regional manager, paralleling it to business. So I've spoken in front of groups of 5 people to 5,000. So a stage was not an issue for me. Yeah. Born with the personality to be able to talk to anybody about anything. And just, the best way I've taught myself, and I know you're doing it to continue to do your shows and even doing it to continue to explode as the referee that you are, you look back at things you've already done.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done. I still do it today. Everything that my voice is on, whether it's a show or commercial or whatever, I have a terabyte hard drive at home. It's on there and I listen to it.
Yeah.
What have I done better in an interview, this, that, or the other thing? And that's how I really just honed the craft with self-study.
Yeah. The worst part about me is my highest viewed YouTube video is 2.7 million views.
Oh, that's not bad.
And but it's when I first started my career, so it's before I actually got that ref uniform,
Gotcha.
Nice pants and nice shoes and stuff. So whenever I do look back, I'm just like, oh my gosh, oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's Killer Cross, there's Scarlet, there's Zisco, and then there's my dirty white shoes. That 2.7 million people have seen.
What I'm learning with social media, and you obviously know this as well, sometimes it's the off-the-wall things that gets the biggest response on social media. And I say off-the-wall in general purposes. Yeah. It's just if it's something out of the norm, people just tend to gravitate to something like that. So if White Shoes separated you and gave you an audience of 3 million people, I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool. All this media and, podcasting and shows and speaking and everything, it's kind of funny. I was doing a little research. You actually have a degree in mathematics.
I do.
Which doesn't have anything to do with any of the stuff you're doing.
No, I can add, subtract, multiply, and divide with the best of them.
I know who to call for text time.
I didn't say I'm an accountant. I can add and subtract, multiply, and divide. But you're right. I mean, look, it's easy to say after so many years that if I had that time to do over again, because of my love of sports and whatnot, I certainly would have changed direction and gone into communication. But at the time, growing up East Coast, growing up in a Jewish household, there's only a certain couple of things you were expected to be when you grew up. Doctors, attorneys, all the white collar stuff. Yeah. So I went off to college. I went to Penn State. I'll give them a cheap plug. And I thought, all right, I'm going to be a doctor. But your first 2 years is all the general courses.
You look like a doctor.
Yeah, I have the penmanship of a doctor, too. Actually, when I was in a different industry, I had a very different nickname, Dr. Phil, if you remember. Yeah. Somebody truncated my last name, and I took on that persona. But anyway, so I couldn't make those darn fruit flies, and biology just kind of kicked my butt. And so I then switched to accounting because I love numbers. Yeah. I could see that 1 + 1 is 2. You don't have to think it. But it was amortization in that accounting program, the financial accounting class, talking about depreciation and amortization. My mind was like, it couldn't grasp it. So I just generalized with business courses, not a minor, but it's like applied my math to that. And yeah, so I have a BS in a lot of ways. Bachelor of Science in Math from Penn State. And here I am, I do podcasting. And I guess I'll use the addition when all the money starts rolling in to keep adding it up, I guess.
Yeah. And you're also a substitute teacher?
I am. I'm registered with the local school district. Last year, I had a great position. They offered me an opportunity to work in an elementary school as what's called a certified teaching tutor, where I'm that guy that will go into a classroom for the students who need just a little extra help in a class, bring them to my room, the lab as we call it. And I spend 30 minutes 7 times a day with different students. So I am registered with the school district because you know what? It does give me great flexibility to still do what I want to do on this side of the microphone.
Yes.
Build my shows, meet people, look for advertisers and sponsors, and yet still be able to, put a few dollars in my pocket with the school district. So yeah, it's an interesting mix. I mean, again, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who went to college and have a degree in A, but they're probably doing something over here in level D that has nothing to do with A, So you just find your passion and you just pursue. And that's really something they don't teach in college, and that's passion. Yeah. Pursue your, about a passion or chase your passion, because that's what's going to make you happy, and I'm a big believer in doing what makes you happy with that passion.
Agree fully.
Anyway, I digress into philosophy.
As you can tell, Aaron is a very good speaker. And looking into it, you also, you do like speaking and professional development coaching as well.
I do. I've gone through, like many people, everybody's experienced things in life that sometimes people just need someone else to talk to. If we had been doing this nearly 3 years ago, I was 354 pounds. And now I sit here now the COVID situation is having to put a few pounds back on, but I'm around that 230 mark. I do CrossFit 3 times a week. I had a health issue. So the things I learned in this phase of my life, I don't go out and preach healthy living. If someone asks me what I do, I share my input. I sit down, we talk to them. I do sales training. I teach sales teams about how to handle sales objections, selling techniques. Look, the bottom line is people don't always realize this, but this right here, we're selling this every day. That's our commodity. I don't care if you're out on a construction site, if you're in a ring, if you're doing a podcast. This face that you look at every day in that mirror, man, you better be comfortable talking about that face and who you are, because that's really, you're selling yourself to everybody. And showing people how that is part of their life, I enjoy doing. I enjoy helping people to reach a level of success personally, professionally, however they want to take whatever advice and things I am willing to give them or they're willing to hear from. I'm very satisfied that people have come to me and asking me my opinion on stuff to help them.
Yeah. So you mentioned it briefly, and I had it down here. Actually, your weight loss journey. I'm actually a little bit jealous. Looking on Facebook, seeing some of your photos, you're pretty jacked.
Now I am. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So just, I know you have some health issues and that caused you to kind of like have to go through some stuff and get your body where it is. How is it from, now compared to before all this, just kind of like, making sure you're staying healthy? And
it's been a challenge the last couple of months, of course. I had shoulder surgery last August. I had a torn labrum and ligaments courtesy of a workout I did in CrossFit earlier in the year, last year, not knowing I had injured myself. So when you can't work out for 14 weeks, although I could have done some lower body stuff, you fall off those habits. But I was cleared to go back December, started going back to working out. The body took a little time to adjusting to that regimen again. Then, of course, with everything that has transpired with the COVID stuff and society issues, couldn't do CrossFit. So it's been a challenge, but nutrition, reminding myself of the nutrition, not wanting to go back to where I was and making certain my healthy habits stay current, still doing some work, whether it's cardio, walking, or whatever, it's probably more of a challenge now to maintain. And I'll parallel that to a wrestling situation. It's easier for somebody to climb the ladder to get that championship belt, but when you have the belt, it's harder to maintain it, right? Because you have all comers at you. In a healthy lifestyle, all the things that my wife and I learned, and I had gastric sleeve surgery, so I want to make it clear to everybody watching that it wasn't just watching what I'm eating and exercising. Because of my health issues, I was told I needed to lose weight. I had a stage 2 non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is the major issue. For all the years I had diabetes in my body, without knowing it, 45% of my liver was shot. And the doctor said, basically, you could be looking at a liver transplant at some point or dying because of it. Okay, what do I have to do? So we went over the options. And so August of 2017, I had the gastric sleeve. My wife did it 12 days after I did. So having that accountability partner also has helped. But it's harder to maintain it now. But, I'm blessed for it because right now a shirt I'm wearing is a large. But if we had met back then, my clothes were 4 and 5Xs. My waist was a 54. I'm wearing 36 now. Shit, I can go shopping at Old Navy now, and buy those larges. So it's really been cool. And look, I'm not a young guy by many terms. I just turned 56. I don't feel 56. I hope I don't look 56, although this might give it away. But it's been a great journey, and that's part of what I like to share with people if they're interested. Like I said, I don't preach about anything, but I make my story public. So that if somebody wants to know, they can reach out, and I'd be more than happy to meet with them.
Great. Over the years, you've had a few like awards and recognitions. In 2015, Distinguished Men in Nevada. Then you got Top 100 Men of the Year in 2016 by My Vegas Magazine. And then, of course, we've also covered the Las Vegas Entertainers Hall of Fame for your contributions to broadcasting, and that was in June of 2018.
Right.
What's it feel like whenever you get approached for something like this, like the first time?
The first time, it's funny because obviously all 3 you're sort of nominated for. The first 2 I was nominated for from my peers within networking and in the city. And it's a great honor that you're recognized for what you do, not because you're asking to be recognized, but you're humbled by what you do, and you do it from that passion standpoint. People recognize that, and they say, you know what, this guy or gal needs to be awarded for that. The one that really surprised me was the Hall of Fame. I was doing my show at the time. I was doing a regular radio show called Aaron's Hour, and I'm interviewing a guest. And as I have my chat room up, because we were also live streaming it on Facebook at the same time from the studio, I see a message pop up from the curator and the owner of the Hall of Fame. And I'm reading it, and I usually don't do this when I have a guest on, but it's like, well, congratulations, you've just been inducted into. And I'm like, I literally froze. And fortunately, the guest I had was a good friend of mine, so I apologized because as she's answering my question, I was distracted over here and I couldn't come back to her, and I apologized and explained why. That one, when you look at the list of people within Las Vegas who's on that list, for those like Rich Little, famous impersonator, Marty Allen, and the Treniers, and these are staple performers not only locally but across the world. And there's my name at the top of the list. Thank goodness Aaron is AA and it's alphabetical. So I'm at the top of the list there. It's very humbling. I've never put myself out there to say, look at me, it's even interesting. It's tough for me to even tell people I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm not that guy to be that self-promoting. And I still have to get used. I joke, I'm a Hall of Famer, and that and $5 still only gets me coffee at Starbucks, But it is very humbling when you're recognized for what you do, because you do it for fun, you do it for the love of it, you do it to help promote. I do my shows to help promote others, like what you're doing, and putting other people in the spotlight. The show's not about me per se, but people enjoy coming on, and it's such a humbling experience. And I'll share one final thing on the story about being nominated. The day I got that announcement about the Hall of Fame, and I'm reading it online, and I announced it, my dad drives around town with his job, and he doesn't get a whole lot of opportunity to listen to radio. Yeah. That morning, and I found this out later in the day, because after I got off the air, I wanted to call and tell him. And he says to me, yeah. He says, I know, congratulations, I heard you announce it. Now, of all days and times for my dad to actually catch even a piece of my show, was at that moment that day when I read the message that I got about being inducted. Was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
So, but it's humbling. It really is. And I take it for where it comes from. People are satisfied with what I do, and it's a great acknowledgement.
Yeah. You're an author as well. You have an ebook.
I do. I have an ebook, 5 minutes to base. It's been so long with the title.
How to be LinkedIn, 5 minutes and hone your magnetic
personality. Thank you. Yes, it is on my website. It is. I didn't name it. My writer that I wrote it with, she named it. But it is true because, look, people, we know the old story. People make first impressions of people within the first. You have everything from first 10 seconds to 15 seconds. Yeah. And in order to really communicate with people, you have to be able to capture them somehow. Monotone speakers, not going to cut it whatsoever. They're boring, So you need that personality, and you need that smile, you need that presence. And it goes back to what I said before. This is what sells, and this is what draws people. That's available on my website. It's a free download if you subscribe to AaronPhillipsVoice.com. It's a website that I just had redone to update with everything. You can download that when you subscribe to my page. I am in the process of writing a book about my experiences on radio, as well as my health journey, a little training in there. That work is in progress right now, but that'll hopefully be done soon too.
So you worked with someone on writing that book.
I am the typical ghostwriter needed person because I'll have thoughts all over the place. And the great thing about a ghostwriter, and it's a lot like sitting here with you, they ask you questions you don't ever think about putting into a book. And look, I've always laughed. I said, if anybody did a book on me, it would be a comic book, 5 pages long in colors, and that's it. But for people to understand a regular story book, I have ghostwriter. I tried writing once, and I was done in 3 paragraphs. I'm like, that's not going to sell very well. But yeah, it's a tool that I needed with the ghostwriter for sure.
Right. Yeah, and you mentioned, and if they're watching this, they should know I'm a professional wrestling referee.
Absolutely.
I met you through Big Valley Wrestling.
Yes. Over a year already since I started there.
Yeah. Wow. How did that happen? That's what I want to know.
Well, back home in New Jersey, when my parents would go out on a Saturday night, I have a younger brother and a sister. Mm-hmm. So I got to a point in my age where I was the babysitter. Yeah. So I wanted my parents to go out on a Saturday night because here's my lineup, okay? 9 o'clock was Love Boat, if you remember that show. 10 to 11 was Fantasy Island, Mr. Rourke and Tattoo. 11 to 11:30, right? The plane. 11 to 11:30 was the local news, because I was really now just killing time to midnight. Yeah. 11:30 to 12 was the first half hour Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. And then 12 midnight, man, I switched over to Channel 9 WOR-TV out of Secaucus, New Jersey. That's where I was introduced to the WWWF. Yeah. Vince McMahon had just started taking over commentary from his dad. Which, by the way, I saw an interesting post this morning. His dad would have turned 106 today. Oh, wow. I saw it on my feed. Happy birthday to Senior McMahon. But it was just fun for that hour to see the Gorilla Monsoons and to see the Jimmy Snukas and Larry Zbyszkos and Bruno Sammartino. I loved it. Age 12 in 1976, my dad took me to my very first live event in Madison Square Garden. Oh. Bob Backlund defeated superstar Billy Graham for his title.
Oh, wow.
February of 76. I'm getting goosebumps because a handful of years ago, I had an opportunity to interview Bob Backlund. And you can scope it out on Google. You can type my name and his name. It was about a 25, 30-minute interview, and we talked about that. Then I read his book. And to read the story of that match from inside the ring from his perspective, while I was there watching it from the outside as a spectator, was tremendous. Yeah. It was that event. And then at the time, WWE was doing live events at high schools for fundraisers and stuff. So growing up, my mom and dad were fundraising chair for the synagogue we belonged to, and so they contracted with WWE, and I saw Hillbilly Jim, and I saw Hercules Hernandez and Moolah at my high school. the Wild Samoans. And at the time, I was old enough, I think I was dating my wife at the time. We were security along the rails. You know, it was so cool. You know, and that's how I got into it. It was in 76. You know, the transition now was starting to happen to the Hulk Hogan and Cyndi Lauper. The whole entertainment arena was changing now. And that's how I got into it. I just fell in love with it. And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought, do I sit at home and call matches? Who doesn't? You know, I call baseball games from my living room, you know? So, and then about a year and a half ago, just out of the blue, I had my show on KLAV here in town, and Ricky saw my bio, and we started chatting, and I said, hey, if you ever need anything, ba, 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 ba. Little did I know, 3 days later, he calls it. Next day, he reaches out. He says, would you be willing to come in as our ring announcer 3 days from now? Because Tiffany Gano, who normally does it, was unavailable. Yeah. I said, heck yeah, dude. I said, I'm going to come down. I'm going to be a ring announcer for pro wrestling. I'm like, I'm all over that, man. Let's do it. And then, of course, transitioned to the desk, and I love the commentary, and it's just fun. It's so, and for me to say I'm affiliated with a wrestling promotion, and now I've branched out and I'm working. You mentioned Versus earlier. I did some stuff with those folks earlier in the year at Level Up and whatnot. And for me, it's just that cool factor. It's just one of those, like, cross it off the bucket list. You know, I did this. My ultimate bucket list item, though, I'll share with you, because I don't have this publicly. Being a huge Yankee fan, I just want to broadcast a half an inning. So if anybody out there has this connection, I want to broadcast a half an inning of Yankee baseball from the stadium. Of course, the bottom of an inning when the Yankees are at bat. I just want to broadcast a half an inning of Yankee baseball. That is my top wish list item, my bucket list item.
Well, just keep thinking it, keep putting it out there.
I do.
Every time I've made a goal, I've hit it in the last year and a half, and I'm just like, okay, this is crazy.
It is.
So now, you know, I want to be signed by AEW or MLW or somebody.
And I want to be the commentator when he's in the ring, you know, making his appearance now, the third man in the ring.
Yeah, we got to put that out there.
Absolutely.
You know, been a crazy year. What's been your favorite match to call?
So far? With BVW or, wow.
With whoever. Yeah, BVW or Versus.
Wow. I'd have to honestly say, because this combined a lot of different things for me. Last year, I attended a Cauliflower Alley Club convention. And if it wasn't for my involvement with BVW, I probably would not have made it, because I know it's there every year. Yeah. Calling the match on the second night, first of all, calling the main event matches on both of those nights as a BVW commentator for both those nights was tremendous. But to me, I would have to, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I'd have to rate the second night when Leon finally defeated Kevin Duckets for the belt that night at CAC. Was exciting. That same night, seeing Frank the Tank, though, dive through the ropes was also an awesome experience to see him do that. And then follow with that, I mean, probably right behind that one. I know you only asked me for one, but I'll give you two. Okay. The one where it was at the Sahara Event Center. It was in the middle of the rink because we had so many people there. The cinder block on Leon's head by Kevin Duckets, and that match was just it was if I remember, his championship on a ring or ladder match thing. Yeah. It was just off the charts. Just off the excitement. The thrill of the climax and seeing how those things ended was just a tremendous opportunity for me to single out those two specifically come to mind.
What's the difference between when you did boxing color commentary and then your podcast stuff and then your wrestling?
I'm more knowledgeable in wrestling than I was in boxing. I got that position, like I said, I answered an ad on Craigslist, and it just so happened my wife and I and my daughters, we had signed up for a 30-day boxing class, one of these trial things. So that's when I say literally I knew an uppercut from across and this and that. But as a color commentator, you're there really just to describe what happened. You know, you're taking your cues from your play-by-play guy. You're just sort of you're the funnier guy. Yeah. Because my partner who taught me this business, he was my first partner that really got me into this, and I had never met him before. I had to take cues from him and I had to understand, but I was kind of like that comedy relief. You know, I brought boxing gloves. So like during our intros, I'd put the gloves on, and as he's talking, I'd be putting it under his chin like Muhammad Ali would. So that's a little different when you're trying to be that lighter guy who explains. Now, when you're doing commentary play-by-play, because the action is so fast, there are times that play-by-play in color, because Johnny Rock and I are the commentary team, sometimes those lines get blended because the action's so fast that you kind of lose sight as to who's specifically doing what. But if you have that good chemistry, it doesn't matter when you're calling the action. But being more knowledgeable with the play-by-play, where you're just sort of describing what's happening at that moment, and somebody else is going to come in with the details as to how that happened again as part of a replay. Very different seats to be in, and it takes a little bit because the action in a ring is much faster than it is in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
And you can watch some of the BVW shows that are up on the YouTube channel, and I know there are times I'm still calling moves that were 4 moves ago, and they're like into the next chain movements. And Johnny's great at picking up the slack. And there are times I'll purposely call a hold incorrectly. Johnny corrects me because you've got like you see on WWE television, you have a Corey Graves and you have a Michael Cole that have certain roles, and we'll call the action certain ways. And Johnny and I kind of do that same thing, but the roles are slightly different as color versus the play-by-play because the roles are very different of what you're presenting to somebody to watch. Yeah. And it takes time. Even as a ring announcer, people make it look easy. Got your cards now from, hailing from, and weighing it. I got news for you. When I did the last BVW match out at the compound over there, listen, I had everything written down, and I still screwed a couple of the intros up because I get excited.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the first time I walked into the Sahara Event Center, the first time I was there as the ring announcer, nobody was there. I got there so early. But I climbed into the ring by myself, and I'm walking around the ring. I'm standing in the ring. I snapped a couple of selfies with the BVW banner behind me, and I'm like, I am in a flippin' wrestling ring, guys. This is crazy stuff, And it's just one of those things that you just get caught up and you get excited. As much as I tell myself to slow down, you just can't do it. You get excited when you see guys like Sergeant Major coming at you, and Kevin Duckett's climbing in the ring, and Santana. You just get psyched up for it, and you try to get the timing down. I never will tell anybody, no matter what I do behind the microphone, I am not 100% the greatest person behind the microphone. I'm not Dan Rather, I'm not Walter Cronkite, I'm not Bob Costas, although these are great people to strive up to. I want to hone my craft every time I have a microphone in my hand. I have, even now when I do podcasts after 15 years, if I don't get the butterflies, that nervous feeling of, okay, I got another show coming on, that's the day I know I'm done and I hang up the microphone. Yeah. Heck, driving over here, because I'm not used to being in this side of the questions, folks. I'm like, oh my, I've got, like the butterflies, good butterflies are flying around because I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun. I don't answer a lot, but it's another show.
Yeah.
And so the day I don't get those nerves and to get those butterflies, that's when I know my time is done. As long as I continue to get that, I'm also a fan. And I think that's sometimes what happens to me in the ring. I get caught up with the very second as a fan, and I'll trip over an introduction, a weight amount, or whatever. And I want to get better every time, and that's why I keep doing it. I know I'm not 100%, but I work towards being 100%.
I'll let you know a little secret. We're all fans who are in this. That's why we're in it.
That's right, exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
I remember the first time I walked into FSW, and there stands D'Lo Brown.
Oh, yeah.
D'Lo Brown was one of my favorites.
I watched him.
Attitude Era and everything. So
sure.
Seeing that, and it's like inside, it's like, oh my goodness. Oh, wow, this is real. I'd been in wrestling before, very temporarily whenever I was 17, 18.
Sure.
But, coming in and seeing like D'Lo Brown and I've seen some of the I've had a great opportunity to meet a lot of people that, I really look up to and respect. So, I've got that little bit of fanness too.
Absolutely. How can you not? The Vegas Toy Con a couple of years ago, Christian was there. Rob Van Dam was there. I forgot some of the a couple other people. Anyway, P.S. as my wife and I are walking around, I see Vicky Guerrero go by. Yeah. And I turn to my wife, who's not the biggest wrestling fan. She puts up with it because of me. And I elbow my wife, and I said, "You know what that is?" She goes, "No, who?" And I just looked at her and I said, "Excuse me." And even my wife said, "Vicky Guerrero." I said, "Yeah." So we finished walking around and we got to the table, the booth where Vicky was. Yeah. And we walked up, I introduced myself to her. And let me tell you, folks, one of the greatest people I've ever met on this earth is Vicky Guerrero. Now, we talked for like 30 minutes because, first of all, I was in awe of the fact, and everybody knows Eddie and the loss and all that stuff. But to talk to her and learn how she picked herself up after all of that. Mm-hmm. Okay, couple that with the Chris Benoit situation, how close Eddie and Chris was. But to talk, and the reason I bring this out, Vicky was such a down-to-earth person off camera. We forget some of these people are people. Mm-hmm. Some are more approachable and willing to chat with you. Yeah. Others are like, no. And I experienced it that day as well. Mm-hmm. So Vicky and we chatted for like a half an hour. We connected on Instagram, chatted a little bit off and on. Fortunately, she was kind enough to come on Thoughts Count Anywhere a couple of weeks ago. We had her on as a guest. We set it up. She did the whole excuse me thing. And we were messaging. And here's the thing. The night we were on the show, this is how great a person she is. I sent her an email on a break.
Yeah.
I said, by the way, I said, do you remember my wife? Yeah. So I said, today's her birthday. I said, I have a very special request.
Yeah.
I said, after we get off the air, here's my wife's phone number. Would you mind reaching out and just calling her to wish her? It'll blow her mind, right?
Yeah.
So before we came on, she said, absolutely, I'll take care of it. So the next break, I sent my wife a text message. You're going to get a call shortly after I get off the air from a Texas number. Answer it. Don't let it go to voicemail.
Yeah.
She goes, why? I said, just trust me. So sure enough, I get home. Did you get that call? Yeah. So Vicky called, wished my wife, they chatted. The call drops.
Oh, no.
Vicky called back to finish the conversation with my wife, wished her happy birthday again, and they chatted for a few more minutes. And you don't have that every day. And that's the kind of people that I would love to continue meeting within any industry because they're real people.
Yeah.
The ones that hold you at abeyance because of, and I'm not talking about because of character. I'm just talking about as people.
Yeah.
You know, we stopped by one of the booths to see another superstar that was there. No one was in line, and I didn't realize you have to pay to meet these people to have a picture. But no one was there. So we went and just walked up. We started talking, and Mojo Rawley was who we were talking with. It was cordial. It was great. We were chatting to a couple of pictures. His handler, his agent, whoever it was, she comes over, and after like 2 minutes, she says, sorry, did you pay to talk to him? I did, and I really legitimately didn't know. And they were so, not him, she was so rude to take me away because I didn't, you know, I get, okay, I didn't, but still, he was great, he was good. But Vicky, she, you know, when you meet somebody like that within the industry that you love as a fan, it just reinforces that, this is some good stuff. You know, and the guys that we work with at BVW, FSW, same thing. They're working hard because they want to get to those next levels, like you as a ref, me behind commentary, and they're also down to earth that it's so cool when you talk to them later on and off camera that you have some great conversation and you have some great friends and connections. And I think that gets lost a lot in today's society.
Yeah. It's weird. I actually used to drive a moped when I first got to Vegas, and I had a conversation with Willie Mack backstage at Impact for like, I think 20 minutes about how he rode a moped too. And don't even get me started on a 30-minute conversation about Alexander Hammerstone's pants. They're not real jeans.
They're not. Are they? They're not painted on, right? It's the. No, I'm just kidding.
It was weird.
It's like the thin material, isn't it?
Yeah, the stretchy material. Yeah. That's me and Mondo Rocks were sitting, and he's all like, "I wonder if those are real pants." I was like, "I'm going to ask him."
I don't think I would.
An awesome conversation.
I was gonna, excuse me, sir. Are those real pants?
Amazingly, he gets that all the time.
Hey, never works for people, you know.
BVW, you've had the opportunity to see a lot of people come in, grow, and do a lot of things. Who would you say is going to be the breakout person of 2021?
Oh, my goodness. Now you're putting me on the spot.
Yes, I am.
You know, wow. I've seen, you know, in the year that I've been doing this, year and a half, I've seen a lot of growth in a lot of the performers with BVW. Some were new to me, even coming through. Look, I was not as in tuned into the indie scene of wrestling like a lot of other people are, just because I wasn't as exposed to it. I just knew WWE. I knew WCW growing up. You know, I didn't know from Ring of Honor. I didn't know from New Japan. There's so many great talents that come through. I love Shade because he's just got the charisma and the ability to work with a crowd and his opponents. Everything he does in the ring is so smooth and natural. I would love to see the championship belt perhaps on his waist. Look, we forget, it's been a while. You know, Big Dirty right now, as far as I remember, was carrying the belt before everything kind of slowed down. I look for those guys to really progress. You know, some of the tag team division, there's a lot of quirky stuff going on right now. Of course, how do you not like, you know, Mondo and Robbie Litt? Are they still champs? No, they're not champs. No. It's Leon and Ducats, I know. Yeah. Look, how can you look past those two guys? But I would, for 2021 right now as I sit, I would put my money on Shade. I mean, he's just got, I don't want to sound the typical cliche, but he's got that it when he comes to the ring. People love him. He's got the charisma in the ring. He's smooth with what he does in the ring. You know, you watch his stuff on social media, there's purposes behind what he does, you know. I love what he did up through Level Up, where he was wrestling that what he wrestled there, and of course seeing him. Put my money on it right now, Las Vegas. DeShade is the guy in 2021.
All right. Well, you heard it.
And he'll send me the money later for saying that on camera.
And he's going to send me the money for making sure I ask the question.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, well, we've been through a lot. I was really excited doing research on you, because doing this, I like to get to know the person I'm going to talk to more. And, I know you and we work together.
Right. Yeah.
You're a great guy, but, learn the different stuff. It was kind of exciting. I appreciate you being on.
And that's only the stuff you were able to find about me.
Oh, no, there's other stuff, but, you have to pay me money to keep that one quiet on the next one.
We'll talk afterwards.
But before we go, anything you want to promote, say?
All right. Well, promote could take a half an hour, but I do my podcast. If I can, I'm going to give the station a plug, if that's okay. Go Live Vegas. It's a broadcast studio. I do 5 shows. Tuesday morning, 9 to 10 a.m., Time to Vegas, which is a show really all about Vegas and what's happening here. Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m., Thoughts Count Anywhere with Scott Hosey, Matt Mullen, and what's that other guy's name? Oh, Jason Piper, our bellboy. By the way, Time to Vegas is with Gypsy Gottlieb. We talk about the world of wrestling, and it's called Thoughts Count Anywhere because we'll digress into pop culture and kind of talk about a little bit of everything. Saturday, 8 o'clock, Power Play Sports Collectibles with Scott Hosey. By the way, Scott's also on the wrestling show. 10 to 11 is a new show that I've been doing for a couple of months. It's called Our House, Our Voice, and it's a fan cast of an organization called The Fan. Yeah. Fan Action Nation. If you're a sports fan on any level, not talking about on-the-field stuff or in-ring stuff, but the business behind the things that you're not happy about, like why a bottle of water costs $20. No. That's what that show's about. JoinTheFan.com. And then, of course, my anchor show, which I've been doing the longest, noontime on Saturday, Twin Brothers from Different Mothers with Neil Portnoy and Johnny Bird is our stepbrother. That's a show where 2 guys just happen to look a lot alike. We discuss and chat and share views on anything going on, mostly in Vegas, but outside that. With 2 exceptions that we don't talk about. I've never talked about it in 15 years publicly, and it's religion and politics. Yeah. I don't want to talk about that stuff. I want my shows have always been entertaining, fun, and especially now, a diversion from all of what's going on. I want to continue that entertainment factor, and those are the 5 things that keep me busy. I host events, everything from bar and bus mitzvahs I've done up to pageants. Wherever there's a need for this, as my slogan says, let my voice speak for you or speak to you, depending upon the situation. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, this is great to be interviewed. The fact you've done your research, man, you dug up some stuff on me that I haven't thought about in forever. And I appreciate that you've done that. And I admire what you do, because doing what you do, what I do, you're getting something off the ground. It's not easy. It's not easy to find that hook, and I wish you the best of success. Anything I can do to help you, from behind the scenes or thoughts or comments, please feel free. That's what I enjoy doing, is helping people do their thing. So 5 podcasts, GoLiveVegas.com. Now he won't yell at me for not saying his station name. Hi, Aaron.
Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you. Find this shirt and more, including the I Survived the 2020 Wrestling Shutdown, at storefrontier.com/WrestleVegas. storefrontier.com/WrestleVegas.